The United Nations Security Council approved with 13 votes in favor and the abstentions of Russia and China to deploy an armed multinational force to Haiti. In Guatemala, the Supreme Electoral Court ratified that the constitutional procedures for the transition of power were completed. And in Spain, King Felipe VI tasked outgoing Socialist Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez with forming the next government. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. The United States has qualified the deployment of force in Haiti as progress but calls for more help. U.S. State Department Secretary Antony Blinken called the authorization of the deployment of a multinational force in Haiti an important step, but called for more help from the international community and the collaboration of Haitian political forces. With 13 votes in favor and 2 abstentions, China and the Russian Federation, the United Nations Security Council approved the resolution drafted by the United States and Ecuador. According to Blinken, this critical mission will meet Haiti's need to address insecurity and create the security conditions necessary for long-term stability and growth. The deployment of the force would last for 1 year, with a review after 9 months. This will be the first time a mission has been deployed to Haiti since the one approved by the United Nations 20 years ago. In the meantime, the Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of Our Americas, in its social media X, condemned the authorization of the United Nations Security Council to deploy a multinational armed force in Haiti and demanded its withdrawal from the Caribbean nation and to respect the right to self-determination of the Haitian people, with a new attempt of interference commanded by the United States. In Guatemala, the Supreme Electoral Court ratified that the constitutional procedures for the transition of power, which will take place on January 14, were completed. Authorities affirmed that it is unlikely that the handover will be reached since the official results of the elections have already been made official. The event took place in the middle of the popular rejection of the attempts to invalidate the results of the presidential elections by the judiciary. At the same time, the authorities of the Supreme Electoral Court rejected the version stated in public forums and social media, referring to the fact that the legal transfer of power will not take place due to the recent raids by the public ministry.
In the last few days, disinformation, manipulation of facts, and attacks against officials and personnel of this institution have intensified, perpetrated by individuals or groups that use virtual social networks and hide behind the apparent anonymity of accounts that call themselves net center. In addition, the harassment they carry out coincides with formally established interest groups, which threaten the rights of individuals by exposing them publicly and presenting spurious disinformation. These denunciations seek to generate censorship, affect people's honor, and exercise psychological violence, attacking the dignity of our collaborators and of the institution itself.
Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro congratulated the joint relationship with the government of Colombia for the productivity of the economy.
I was telling President Petro that this is a great achievement of the work we are doing jointly, the government of Colombia and the government of Venezuela, to open the doors of the border, to open the doors of trade, to open the doors of associated investment of Colombian capital in Venezuela, of Venezuelan capital in Colombia. More than 1,200 business meetings were held. 530 Colombian businessmen participated. The most important Colombian businessmen were in Caracas and 410 Venezuelan companies participated. The most important Venezuelan companies participated in the Colombia-Venezuela macro business meeting.
Also, the Venezuelan president said that the first international telecommunication fair was a total success for the world.
Total success. The first international telecommunication fair. 99 companies, among which there were 16 companies from around the world. Top-level international companies. 99 stands. There were more than 30,000 people who passed through there between Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. It could have been open for 15 days, and who knows how many people would have passed through there. So, the international fair has been a total success, and it showed where Venezuela is going, not only how we are improving, how we are growing, but we are going to the highest technology in the world.
The president of the National Electoral Council of Venezuela, Elvis Amoroso, reaffirmed his commitment to the Venezuelan people and democracy.
The National Electoral Council is prepared to guarantee the primaries and any other election, and we reaffirm our commitment to the Venezuelan people to strengthen democracy. Venezuelans should be proud to have the best automated system in the world.
The president of the National Electoral Council of Venezuela affirmed that the electoral power is willing to provide technical service in the upcoming primary elections of the so-called United Platform of the Opposition.
The National Electoral Council is ready to carry out any national, state, municipal, primary or trade union election as long as the constitutional, legal and technical requirements are met, thus guaranteeing the right to elect.
Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. Other stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. In Spain, King Felipe VI tasked outgoing Socialist Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez with forming the next government. If Sanchez is to be reinstated as premier, he will need to pass a key parliamentary vote for which he will need the backing of a Catalan separatist party. The move comes just 4 days after right-wing opposition leader Alberto Núñez Feijóo failed in his own bid to win parliamentary support to be inaugurated as prime minister. Sanchez will now have to seek support from at least 176 lawmakers within the 350-seat parliament in the vote which must take place before November 27th. If he fails, Spain will automatically be forced to hold new elections, most likely in mid-January.
His Majesty the King, having completed the consultations with the representative of the political forces present in the Congress of Deputies, who wished to attend this meeting and in accordance with the provisions of our Constitution, has informed me of his decision to propose Mr. Pedro Sanchez as candidate for Prime Minister.
Spain's incumbent Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez accepts His Majesty the King's commission to try to form a government.
As you know, I'm appearing before you to inform you that I have accepted His Majesty the King's commission from the head of state as a candidate to be sworn in as president of the government before the parliament and before the Congress of Deputies. And I want to tell you that I do so with enthusiasm, with the hope of knowing how much Spain can advance over the next 4 years with a progressive government.
On Monday, thousands of doctors took to the streets across Germany complaining about the rising cost amid the relentless surge in inflation. Under the rallying theme of clinic crisis, nearly 20 medical associations, statutory health insurance organizations, and a multitude of pharmacies participated in this nationwide strike. The organizers said that the mounting cost of energy, failed digitization endeavors, and scarcity of skilled professionals have left the clinics teetering on the edge of insurmountable strain. Demonstrators said if the current crisis continues, several clinics could shut down and those that remain open could be overburdened.
The clinics have no choice but to protest because we have to make sure we have money by the end of the month to pay all the staff and house rent.
On Tuesday, Russia's defense minister Sergei Shoigu pointed out that Kiev attempts to penetrate Russian defenses on front lines in the east and south of the country had failed.
Russian troops have significantly weakened the enemy's combat potential and inflicted serious damage. The enemy's attempts to break through our defenses in the areas of Verbovoye and Robotino on the Zaporizhia front had failed.
On Tuesday, early voting opened across Australia and a reform that would recognize Indigenous people in the 1901 Constitution for the first time. Early voters in Sydney and other parts of the country have already begun casting their ballots to decide on Indigenous rights in a vote that will run until October 14th. If approved, the reform would recognize Indigenous peoples and Torres Strait Islanders in the country's constitution and would establish a permanent body to advise the government. The so-called Voice to Parliament was recommended by a landmark 2017 document called the Uluru Declaration from the Heart, which was drafted by over 250 Indigenous leaders.
I'm really passionate about voting yes in this referendum because the Constitution in 1901 was written at a time that didn't recognise Indigenous people at all. It is an out-of-date document and it's time to recognise the longest living culture in the world.
It's an opportunity for change. I feel the status quo has kind of been the same for a very long time and constantly going through this cycle of conversation about something without real action, and it's probably the most stable action or substantial action I've seen in my lifetime.
In the United States, automotive companies laid off more than 500 employees under the pretext of the impact of social protests. General Motors and Ford authorities took this measure after 18 days of demonstrations by the Automotive Workers Union. According to local media, both companies have had a loss of more than $330 million due to the stoppage of 4 assembly plants. The union reiterated its demand for a wage increase and labor benefits. They say they will continue the strike indefinitely if they do not reach a consensus with the companies. Recent months have not been good for the industry, which has seen hundreds of thousands of jobs lost as companies look for ways to reduce costs among slowing sales and fears of an economic downturn. We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at TeleSUR English, here you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back from the south. Local media in Thailand reported on Tuesday that 1 person were killed and 6 injured in a shooting at a major shopping mall in Bangkok. In the meantime, Metropolitan Police Bureau Police Colonel Nopadol Thiambaka confirmed they arrested a 14-year-old boy linked to the shooting at a busy luxury mall in the center of Bangkok. Yuthana Strethanan, director of the Erewhon Emergency Center, told reporters that 1 woman had been killed, correcting his initial report of 3 deaths. Shootings have become a growing concern in Thailand over recent years. In October last year, 22 young children were killed during a gun and knife attack by a former police officer at a nursery in Uthai Sawan in northeast Thailand. Prime Minister Srettha Thavisin, through his social media, shared his deepest condolences with the victims and their families and assured he ordered to solve the crime. The Iranian government expressed its willingness to resume dialogue with the U.S. in order to reach a new nuclear agreement.
If the United States returns to the Iran nuclear deal in a resolute and responsible manner, we are ready to fulfill our responsibilities and resume negotiations. However, negotiations are only related to the nuclear deal and won't limit Iran's other diplomatic efforts.
Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi announced Monday his candidacy for a 3rd term in office ahead of December elections. He is widely expected to win. State-aligned television showed thousands of people celebrating the announcement in ready-built stages across the country. Earlier on Monday, rallies were held in Cairo, calling for Sisi to declare his candidacy. The president, whose security forces have been accused of harassing and detaining opponents, applauded other candidates and hailed a real beginning to vibrant political life full of pluralism. Sisi urged Egyptians to head to the polls on December 10th and the 12th, even if not to vote for him. Without parliamentary backing, the 44-year-old will need to collect 25,000 nominations from Egyptians across at least 15 governorates by October 14 to be eligible.
I announced my intention to run and complete the dream in a new presidential term. I promise you that this term will be a continuation of our common mobilization for the sake of Egypt and its people. I urge all Egyptians to participate in this democratic process and to choose with their unbiased national conscience the candidate who is best suited for the role and good appoints the best suited.
Nigerian unions agreed on Monday to call off a planned strike in protests at the rising cost of living after the government offered a package of measures to cushion the impact of its economic reforms. Since coming to power in May, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has ended fuel subsidies and liberalized the Naira exchange rate in reforms that officials say are painful but necessary to help revive Africa's largest economy. The measures have tripled the cost of fuel, and inflation now stands at 25%, prompting the Nigerian Workers' Congress and the Congress of Trade Unions to call an indefinite strike starting on Tuesday. But after talks on Sunday and Monday, the unions and the government agreed to suspend the labor strike.
The NLC and the TUC accept to suspend for 30 days the planned indefinite nationwide strike scheduled to begin Tuesday, the 3rd of October 2023. And 15. This memorandum shall be filed with the relevant court of competent jurisdiction within 1 week as consent judgment by the federal.
This news briefing, you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.